Assalamu alaikum, Mark.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Man, I appreciate your time, man. For those who may not know, man, this is the legendary Halim Flowers, man, activist, author, artist, and much, much more. So, can you just state your name and where you from for those all over the world?
My name is Halim Flowers from Washington, D.C.
Take me back to where you come from in Washington, D.C. How was your childhood?
My formidable years, I would say like the age of 6, grew up in what's known as like the Capitol Hill area, pre-gentrification. Definitely got to state that. Right in between the U.S. Capitol and the RFK Stadium, one is national monument of legislation. And RFK Stadium at that time, the team formerly known as the Washington Redskins, was a championship team. And so just standing in between two powerful institutions, but living in a zip code at that time where, kind of just was powerless. When you're in a capitalist society and you have no access to capital, you kind of stand in a position of, at least in the tangible word of weakness. And so you're surrounded by the White House, the Capitol, the Pentagon. You have no awareness of the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the Federal Reserve. And you're just so close to these institutions of power, but yet you just have no access to them. On my dad's side was Nation of Islam, so that's how I got my name, Halim Abdullah Flowers. And so on that side of the family, with the Nation of Islam, kind of like black nationalists, very active in the community. I kind of like got my first entrepreneurship skills selling the papers, the bean pies, curry cakes, bow ties. So I've been flat foot hustling for a long time before I started selling crack when I was 12. And so my mom's side of the family, my grandmother kind of Southern Baptist. So you kind of got that balance in between like the Sunday school and reading the Bible. My grandparents, they actually owned the 2 apartment buildings in Capitol Hill, one of them which I grew up at. So I come from a family, my grandfather used to always tell me never work for a white man. So he always like hacked the cabs and he sell reefer of Howard University and do his little vending. And then and you just seeing him and my grandmother work together, have real estate. Uh, my dad's side of the family, his stepfather was a minister, Mosque number 57, Norfolk, Virginia. So he was standing on business with that, going inside the prisons. I didn't know at that time as a child. I didn't learn until I came home that he was a hitman. He was a gangster,
Oh,
a reformed gangster. I just knew him as Henry Muhammad. I didn't know him as the hitman, and the enforcer. And so I kind of like had those boundaries. Both sides of my family. I knew my great grandfathers. Both of them grew their own food, had their own animals in North Carolina, in deep South Virginia. So I really have deep rooted ties to my family. When you consider that a lot of guys that I met in prison didn't even know who their dads were. You know what I'm saying? And so I've been able to experience, multiple generations, and but just being a nerd, you know, taking my SATs when I was 11 and having the opportunity to take some courses at Howard University when I was 11. But losing my dad from the household due to some addictions he was dealing with, and instead of me going from the mosque to school to the mosque to the gym, I kind of because I used to box for Ham too from 86 to like 91, and so I
the legendary
stopped
Ham.
going to the legendary Ham AC, and so I boxed with Adam and all the other people who was a part of our team back then, and then just started selling drugs when I was 12. Lived in a very fatal environment. I saw my childhood hero, a guy named Boosie, get gunned down. I didn't see it. He got killed when I was 11, and then like a week or so later, a young guy named Stem, who was Muslim. May Allah have mercy on him. He got gunned down in retaliation. They both were 16. I watched Stem die, before my eyes, a bullet in his throat. And
How old are you at this age?
I was 11. And so I really just wanted to hustle. Me and my team, I remember we made a pact. We was 11 and 12 and 13 when we started selling drugs, to not snitch, and everybody had to get their hands dirty. And so, but also, our goal was just to move our moms out of the community, and that's how I started hustling. And for me, I've never had a job since, never had a job since. So whether it's just hustling drugs, hustling books in prison, candy, sodas, coming home, hustling books, speaking engagements, art, clothes, sneakers. I've always just been a hustler.
I was going to ask you that, but you said something else that I kind of want to talk about, because a lot of times when people talk to guys such as yourself that has had success and things that have a background that's going to say that's challenged, but people always want to ask you about your street stuff. But me knowing you and me reading about you as a person that don't know you, I find it admirable that you're a person that doesn't shy away from being intelligent. And you just mentioned that you took some tests and had some classes at Howard University at the age 11. I just want to stop there for a second, man, highlight it. How did that come about? And, who was able to nurture, such a academic jump for you at that age?
I have a great aunt down in Virginia Beach. She taught Pharrell Williams and Missy Elliott. And so we had moved down Virginia Beach when I was in pre-K. And so I had the opportunity to go to school where she taught at. She always would give me books. Everybody else would like give me toys. Remember, she gave me a collection of Fraggle Rock books, a little show I used to watch as a kid. And so, and she's still reading, work out to this day. And she almost 90. And so she was a great influence on me. And I've always just had a natural inclination to academia and creativity. And so, but sadly, passing your pre-SATs wasn't celebrated in the community. And so I think like me not having my dad in the house to reinforce a broader spectrum of what manhood should be or what should be celebrated as a young man, I kind of like just was seeking validation. And so, I like reading comic books and playing a video game, and but that wasn't cool. And once I turned like 12, instead of like just being myself, because I always tell people I went to prison when I was 12. When I started acting like a street guy, something I never was raised to be. I was playing a role, and so I didn't come from like an unloving family, and so I'm in the streets with people who are addicted to pain, inflicting it, because they grew up in unloving households and families, and so I had to act like a street dude. That's why I never really talk about my street life a lot, because it wasn't really me. I was acting, and the act caught up to me when I was 16, and I had to be accountable, even though I was innocent in my case. But we don't implicate others just to escape, the ramifications of the lifestyle that we chose, even though we chose it as children. But this was a pact that I made, and so I couldn't foresee when I was 12 that selling drugs would lead to guys being jealous, that a young 12, 13-year-old guy is cutting into their market share, and now they want to rob, my friends. And so you transition into the gun violence. And I think just coming up fighting in the gym and training with my dad, and it being in the Nation of Islam, it's like they kind of like raise you militant and fearless. And so even though I was like undersized, once I got to doing what I was doing with the gun, it just, I like to believe I kind of got like out of control. And it just, led to me eventually, being charged as an adult for being an aid and abettor to a murder. And I didn't commit it. I wasn't present when it happened, but as I like to state, it's not my responsibility as a citizen to cooperate, with the government to prosecute anybody. I don't have an obligation to do that. So I went to trial, got found guilty, got 2 life sentences. They dismissed the case against my co-defendant, even though he was charged as a shooter, and he didn't tell. People always ask me, how did that happen? My co-defendant never told, never made any statements, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. Even he was convicted of something he didn't do in another case. And so, but all of us, one thing that I can say about my guys is that all of us, even as juveniles, we were willing to be accountable for our lifestyle, even if it costs us the rest of our lives and, our lives in prison. Mine who works at the Justice Department, she had Kim Kardashian and Jessica Jackson to do a tour in her office. And in her office, she has numerous pieces of my art. And when she walked into the office, she saw the art and she remembered me. And she took it upon herself to do a short video of the paintings, tag my name, and put it in her story. And the reason why I want to give this to you is that to get Kim Kardashian to mention your product, which is called a product placement, in her stories, this costs $1 million. And so she remembered me, and when she got an opportunity to see my product with another client of mine, she gave me $1 million gift. Always do the work on yourself. Always conduct yourself in a loving way, in a respectful way. And always value your relationships with the people who support your business.